right. Well, thanks everybody for coming. And
thanks for being here, Don.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. Just want to thank the Bonnies first for having this rendezvous, because it's made a big difference in our life. So let's see. I'm going to be following this packet. All right, so everybody has a packet, and just try and elaborate on it as we go along here. All right. Let's see. Well, first I want to introduce my wife Cindy over here. She's a big part of how I'm standing up here today. So, without it, I'd still be working somewhere else and not carving. So, all right. Another guy I want to just mention here. I don't know. A lot of you guys might know Art Hilger. You should know him. I carve with him down in Lockport. That's where I'm from. I carve down by the Erie Canal, down by the locks. You guys know where that is. Niagara Falls area, not too far from there. And, Art Hilger, he's a great guy. He really opened everything up for me, just like all you guys do here. And he's got a ton of knowledge. And he just, I don't know, he answers the phone every single day that I call him, and he knows that I'm going to ask him a million questions. But he still answers it anyway, so. Yeah, he's a great friend. He's got a lot of heart. So, so we'll get started here, and hopefully, what we talk about here, we're just going to touch on a lot of different things. If anybody wants to jump in and start talking a little bit more about things, that's fine too. But hopefully, even one or two things, even if you pull one or two things out of this, it can make a big difference. So, usually for a seminar. Professionally, we do like a ton of research. So I'd be up here talking about research and spending about 2 hours and boring the heck out of you guys. So we're not going to do that. So, but my license doesn't allow me to take like an individual case and say, all right, we're going to fix you here today, because there's a lot involved. There's doctor referrals. There's your testing, MRIs, X-rays, things like that, and you have to be evaluated fully, for us to know, be able to treat you guys. So, so we'll just, do a brief overview of everything. All right. So what I say is, it's my opinion based on my degree and my continuing education. So we'll see what we can do. All right. So the first thing that I'll say, and I'll say it over and over, is talk to your doctor. Talk to your doctor. If you want to do something, if you want to start something, you haven't been exercising, you want to exercise, you got to talk to your doctor first. All right. Let's see here. All right. Yeah. Yeah, I'm no stranger to pain either. All right, just like everybody here, I'm sure. I've had chronic back pain since I was 25. Before I got into physical therapy, I did everything wrong. I worked my farm days, my construction days. I pretty much trashed everything. And I got into physical therapy so that I could keep myself safe, which is why I had a lumbar fusion not too long ago when a patient pulled me down. So, but anyway, back from that, and just letting you guys know that they deal with these things firsthand, so you have a good insight. Let's see here. All right. Any questions? All right, so we're going to start with stretching. All right, and the biggest thing you got to know about stretching, unless you've had a knee replacement or a surgery or something like that, all your stretches should be pain-free. All right, you shouldn't, no pain, no gain. That's for strengthening. That's not stretching. A lot of guys come into our clinic and they pull everything. Oh, I really tried hard, and well, now we got to let that heal for 4 weeks, So don't overstretch, right? Yeah, when your muscles get tight, they get overworked, and they're real easy to pull. So you have to be careful. You have to take the time to do these stretches. So, so I'm going to talk about 2 different types of stretching: static versus dynamic. Okay, a static stretch, if you have a limited range of motion, like say you can only pull your arm up this far, and you want to gain range of motion so that you can do something like this someday. Okay. That's a static stretch. You want to hold that stretch for 30 seconds, and this is in your packet too. You want to hold the stretch for 30 seconds, repeat it twice, and then come back to it 3 or 4 times during the day. All right, that's a lot of stretching, but that's how you're going to gain the range of motion. So you have to stay pretty consistent with it. All right. The way to differentiate, I came up with between static stretching and dynamic stretching is static stretching. If you ran your feet across your rug at home, static. All right, so you're going to do that at home. All right. Dynamic stretching is what you want to do when you're carving and things like that. There's a lot of research that shows the difference between static and dynamic stretching, like in runners, people who are about to, take on a big task, is not to do a static stretch before you're actually about to do the activity, because it decreases the muscle's performance. Okay, it sort of wrings it out. So if I'm doing a stretch and I'm holding the stretch, you can deprive the muscle of oxygen if you're just going to hold it there. Okay. A dynamic stretch is just to hold it for a second and let it go. It's a warm-up. Okay, that's what a dynamic stretch is. And a dynamic stretch is, let's say, when you start stretching, you're here. Okay, but after stretching, everybody gains range of motion, so you can maybe move it to here. Okay, dynamic stretching basically moves you from here to here. Okay, so it'll give you more range of motion within your available range of motion, which you already have. Okay, but it'll warm you up so that you won't, be so susceptible to injury there. All right. So static stretching can be done all day long. Okay, so you're about to carve, you're eyeing up your piece there, you're looking at the log, and you just start stretching. I'll go over some of these stretches with you. All right, and you're just looking at the log and you're doing these different stretches while you're looking at it. Learn to incorporate it through, through your activity there. All right. Yeah, so like I said, a couple of times you could do stretching is when you're looking at your carving, or even when a customer comes up and starts talking to you. You just start stretching. It'll make a huge difference. I was even a couple weeks ago, I was carving a lighthouse, and I spent about 2 hours on sanding, and everything was just cramping up. I was trying to stretch. I just stopped and then did dynamic stretches for, I don't know, probably about a minute. Went back to it, and it was just like, I was ready to go again, no problem. So it can make a huge difference. Let's see. So I write in here, chainsaw athletes. I have some experience with athletics. I played hockey when I was younger, so you know what it takes to condition yourself and put yourself through everything so that you're safe while you're doing your activity. And that's important because that's what we're doing. We're out there with a saw in our hands for 4 or 8 hours sometimes, straight or more. And it's real important to have yourself all loosened up, to take the proper steps, just like an athlete. All right. And there's a lot involved in it. A lot of people don't think of all of these things because they all come cumulative. All right. So I have here, a whole list of what is involved, in my opinion, with athletics. And you start with a warm-up. So you're going to start your heavily used muscles, which are usually for carvers, your forearm muscles, might be your quads, your legs, and you're going to warm up. Just mirror the activity. All right, we'll talk about some of those stretches as we go on here. And you definitely want to warm these muscles up because it'll help prevent injury. All right? And even runners, they won't sit down and do static stretching before going on a big run now. It's all warm-ups. Okay. All right. Adequate nutrition. And all this ties into muscle soreness and pain. All right. If you go out there and you carve and you haven't eaten anything, you're going to be sore as hell. Because what happens is your muscles, if you don't give it the nutrition, if you don't give it the protein that it needs, it actually breaks down your own muscle and says, hey, you're not giving it to me, I'm going to break down the muscle. So you have to eat. You have to, fuel yourself up for this. A lot of people don't know that, and even though you're strong in some areas, there might be some small accessory muscles that just get real weak. Also, what happens is your muscle fatigue. You're doing something new. If it doesn't have the nutrition, you're going to have soreness for 4 or 5 days, just muscle soreness. So this is a way to help reduce that too. Okay. So I read in here to eat an hour and a half before carving because you need to let it process. Just like in athletics or workout, you're going to do something. You got to let it process through, hour and a half. Eat before your activity. All right. And then I write every hour or so, just replenish as needed. You know, you can have a shake. You can have some peanuts, bananas, things high in protein, potassium, things like that. You know, they're quick, they're easy. You got to pay attention to it. Hydration. If you don't have enough hydration, same things happen to your muscles drain out. So I write, a lot of people will drink Gatorade and things like that, and that is great if you're losing a ton of hydration, all right? But if you're not, then just water, because that's better for you because you're not loading yourself up with sodium. Plus you're not spiking your blood sugar levels. But it is good for rapid loss of hydration, all right? So you got warm-up, nutrition, maintenance of range of motion, okay? That's what you do at home, stretching, making sure that you have what you're supposed to have to begin with. All right, if you don't have the available range of motion, muscles are tight, you'll pull something. All right. For a lot of different reasons, cardiovascular exercise. That's exercising like on a treadmill or a bike, getting your heart rate up. There's a target heart rate that everybody should have. I have the formula. I should have wrote it on here for everybody, but not everybody's got a pen, so you can see me about it. But well, for the sake of the video, it's I usually work with you take 220 and you minus your age of your ages. That's your maximum heart rate, and then whatever that is, you multiply it times 0.66. There's your target heart rate. That's what you should work in. A lot of guys will get on a treadmill or a bike and shoot it right up to 180, 190, and that's not going to bring your heart around fast enough. And you might not get brought around at all. So, so cardiovascular exercise too is real important. I'll dive into it just briefly. As we get older, you get over 40 years old or so, you have capillary networks, which are real small blood vessels inside your tendons. Right? Everybody's got tendonitis. How many people have tendonitis? Tendonitis. If you don't have it, you will. Okay. What do we got? Oh yeah, target heart rate. All right, good. Yeah, you can go online. There's heart rate calculators that'll help you right out. You just type in the information that they ask from you, and they'll give it right to you. So Ed's got one up here, so that's pretty good. So anyways, with the tendonitis, we have real small blood vessels in our tendons, and as we get older, they get smaller and smaller and smaller. The tendons lose nutrition, and they get more frail and more frail and more frail, and they pull easier and easier and easier. And cardiovascular exercise kind of floods those capillaries when we work out, and it helps to prevent or improve tendonitis and things like that. So, all right. Let's see here. Yeah, so cardiovascular exercise with doctor's approval, 30-minute sessions with a warm-up and a cool-down of 5 minutes, 3 times a week. That's usually what you're supposed to do. You know? Watch TV, put your stationary bike there, and there you go. All right, time for rest and repair, especially when we're doing stuff that we haven't done before or overdo it. You have to let those muscles rest and repair. So what I like to do is integrate the other activities in carving, sales, bookkeeping, logging. As long as I'm not doing the same exact activity, I might carve for a couple days in a row, 2-3 days, and then I'm like, all right, I'm going to do some logging. You're using different muscles, so you're not using the same old muscles. You got to let them repair. They get tighter and tighter. You got to go through your stretches, so that's important. Let's see here. Yeah. So for pain management too, you ever notice that? I got to talk to my gentleman here this morning. If you sit around, you notice all your aches and pains. They come out. And, you're just in a ton of pain, just sitting there. But if you get up and move, you start feeling better. That's because your adrenaline levels start to boost, and you start producing more of your body's own natural painkillers, because we all have those in us. So this exercise can actually raise levels and keep them up, so that you have less pain, while you're doing anything. So, all right. So just try and balance things out the best that you can. But you know, again, I think that's important. As chainsaw athletes, that you have your warm up, your nutrition, maintenance, and strength and range of motion. One thing I didn't mention either is that if you're not carving for a while, you're off for a while, you should try and mirror the activities of carving. All right, we do a ton of pull starts. We do, you know, you can take free weights, you know, and just work, you know, because when you get back to carving, you're going to be sore, you know, and you can pull something too. So, especially for part-time carvers, that would be a good idea. Warm up, nutrition, maintenance of strength and range of motion, rest and repair. You know, that's some basics. So then we'll move on to the knee, and I'm just going to talk briefly on each body part, back a little bit longer, just because you guys didn't want to be here all day, right? All right. So we'll start with the knee. Usually, what we see in a lot of knee injuries at the clinic are wear and tear, osteoarthritis, and you know, I have some things listed on your sheet, things that you can try to help minimize that. And static and dynamic stretching, you're going to see that for each body part because it's the same thing. You have to do it. If you don't do it, then you're going to restrict yourself. Okay. Also, when you do a dynamic exercise, all right, which is, you know, repetition. Each joint is lubricated, okay, and a synovial fluid which helps lubricate the joint. So when you do a dynamic stretch, you're lubricating the joint if you put it through its full range of motion. So same thing with your knee. If you go through full knee stretches over and over again, you're going to lubricate the whole joint. You're going to stir up that lubricating fluid and get it going. Example, you go on a walk, and all you do through the whole walk is this with your knee. You don't do anything else. You don't move it very much. It gets real stiff. It gets real stiff or painful. You start to put it through its full range of motion, and it's real stiff, but then after a little bit, it feels better. Okay, so that's important. All right. So with the knee, a lot of common problems I'll see, you know, especially in carving, is stance. If you let your knees extend out over your toes, that's a lot of stress on your knees, and especially if you have a knee problem. That's going to leave you feeling real sore all the time. Okay, so you want to try not to let your knees go out over your toes when you're carving. Sort of widen your stance, okay, so that your knees, you know, are in a good position. All right. Come on in. All right. There's a packet over there. If you guys want to grab a packet, right in the back on that back table there. Another thing that will help the knees out. I brought my own hydraulic cart here. I have a few of them. This is my smaller one. But I can raise and lower my carvings right up, so I'm not squatting down. I don't know if anybody can see that. Some people know what it is. I'll demonstrate it later, but I think you know what it does. So, you know, then you're not squatting as much. You know, you can raise it up to a comfortable height. But I do a lot of squatting. I don't have anything wrong with my knees. But I do it just to change positions. And I do it a lot of times. I use volleyball knee pads. I've used a lot of knee pads that you get from, you know, hardware store. And a lot of them are pretty hard, you know, unless you buy a real expensive pair. And I just use volleyball knee pads because, you know, I used to play volleyball and you can drop yourself right down to knees and you're not feeling anything. So what I did was I bought some volleyball knee pads in, and I just got them from Walmart for $10 a pair over here, about $10. So I'm not charging anything extra for them. I'll bring back whatever if people don't want them, but they're really useful. So I'm going to pass one around so people can just feel. If you want to try it on or whatever, that's cool too. But it also acts like a knee brace. All right, and people have bought knee braces before. It helps to stabilize the knee. So if you have a knee problem, it's going to stabilize the knee, and it's going to give you some padding. And I always go down on one knee, and, you know, I don't really feel very much when I'm using that. I don't feel the ground at all, really. So that's a good thing to have. I just wear them under my chaps. Another thing with the knee pad there is if you're carving for hours and hours, you got to let your knee breathe a little bit. So drop them down to your ankles, you know, and just, you know, go without them for a little bit to let your knees breathe so it doesn't trap circulation in your lower leg. Okay. let's say, so bad knees equal poor body mechanics. That's in your sheet. So what happens is a lot of people, their knees hurt, and they don't bend at the knees. They'll bend at the waist. It's the worst thing you can do for your back. Everybody knows that, right? Or you should, or you will. Okay. So what we'll do in the clinic a lot is we'll go after knee strengthening because if something hurts, you don't do it, right? So if you don't do it, you lose your strength. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, I'm strong. Well, we'll give you some exercises to do, and 8 times out of 10, people with bad knees, they're not up to par. So, either you talk to your doctor about physical therapy, they'll bring you right up, and you'll be good for life with it, hopefully. So it causes poor body mechanics. So you're going to bend over at your waist because you're not using your knees. All right, so get those taken care of the best you can, or use a hydraulic cart, so you're not bending over at the waist so much. All right.
Speaking of knees.
Yep.
How about glucosamine? Does that help or not?
Yeah, that's for the cartilage in your knees.
Yeah.
Yes.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Repeat the question.
Louder.
Not very well. How does the glucosamine help? And the other question is, how about cortisone shots? What can you tell us about those? How do you have to get those?
Okay.
You repeat.
You repeat.
Oh,
You repeat it. Use the mic. They can hear you.
Glycosamine and chondroitin is it's a medication for the cartilage in your knee, if I'm saying it right, and sometimes I say it wrong. It's for the nutrition of your cartilage. It actually helps your body to make more cartilage. So wear and tear arthritis is just from repetitive motion over the years. You wear out the cartilage, we're getting older, and that medication will actually help to promote new cartilage. Okay, and I have heard very good things about it. We've seen good things. And then the cortisone shots. It varies from person to person. Usually, with people that don't have much inflammation, they'll just have one shot, and it might last them a year. It might be great, Other people, a series of 3 shots, and every month or 2 months or something for maintenance. People that have real knee problems. So it can be very beneficial. A lot of people don't realize after the cortisone shots, you should have ice on your knee, relax. Don't flush the shot out of the local area. You want it to work. People will get the shot and go, oh, yeah, great, go running around, but
Feels good.
Yeah, but you want to relax for a day or so and let it sort of mellow in there, So, is that it? Or?
Don, when they need to know though if the little, I can't say the word, whatever, medicine you get over the counter for your joints,
Yeah.
it works, but if you have any kind of a sugar problem or anything, you need to talk to your doctor about it because it can cause your sugar to go up.
Yeah. No,
So
that's a good
you just
tip.
be aware of that.
Can you please repeat that, Don?
Just take over the counter and not affect it.
Yeah. So, the medication could interfere with sugar levels if you have diabetes or something like that, and you should get that checked out then. Yeah, I didn't know about that.
I got one other.
Mhm.
I was told that if you drink pectin mixed with Concord grape juice, 8 ounces a day, it helps.
Oh yeah?
You can Google that online and find all kinds of testimony.
Pectin
And of
with
course,
grape
there's no
juice.
doctors out there that'll tell you it does.
Oh, okay.
But my mother-in-law's been using it for 25 years. It hasn't made her arthritis any better,
Mhm.
but it hasn't gotten worse either.
Oh, okay. Well, something to consider there then. Yeah. There's a couple of different types of arthritis. Osteoarthritis is wear and tear, what we all usually have, and then there's rheumatoid arthritis, which is your body sort of attacks itself. You'd know if you had that though. You would have been diagnosed. Sorry? Oh yeah, if you have both, it really. What she said. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Any other questions or? Okay. Because after the first 20 questions, I start charging. All right. So. All right. So we're gonna show a video here, and I'm just gonna sort of narrate it here. Before it starts, a lot of us bend over at our waist, okay, and we don't realize exactly what's happening in your back. And Like I was explaining my old farm days, construction days, I got the strongest back in the world. I can do anything. You can have a strong back, but you're only as strong as the weakest link. And those discs are pretty much a lot of people's weakest link. And if you've been doing it for years and you've been doing it and there's no problem, one day is all it takes to change your life completely. I know that firsthand. One day you can wake up with that problem. So you try not to bend over at the waist. So they're going to show here a disc, okay? That's the spongy things that are in between the vertebrae there. Okay, they just zoomed in on it. Now when that person leans forward, you get a bulge and a herniation. You think of your disc as a jelly donut, there's the jelly, it just spilled out. The jelly does not go back in the disc, okay? We might show that again when it's over to, no, it's about a minute long. That's a bulge. That's where all your nerves are, running right where that just bulged, okay? So a lot of people will get pain down into their legs, sciatica, okay? Which is nerve from the lumbar nerves. There's the nerve, okay? Once it's there, it might be pretty hard to get rid of it. It just depends on where the bulge and the herniation is, okay? And that's from bending over at the waist. And, all right, if you put pressure on the front of that jelly donut over and over and over again, eventually it's going to spill out, all right? All that happens is that jelly, which is the nucleus inside of your disc, it spills out, and you get a little bit of cartilage in there, but your discs are now like thin pancakes. They're shock absorbing cells. All right, so that's real important, to know about why we put so much emphasis on not bending over at the waist. And I know it's hard to do; it's almost impossible to do when you're carving because you're going to do a little bit. But try and stabilize yourself. We'll get into some things here, ways to help avoid that. But if there's one thing that you can remember, from this seminar, keep your back as straight up and down as possible with whatever you're doing, even if it doesn't hurt. Because after I had my lumbar fusion, I felt great. I feel great in terms of my back. And I want to do this sometimes. I feel it. I feel good. And I'm like, oh, God. But, I gotta keep with those mechanics. And it takes a while. Don't let the pain stop you because a lot of times it's already too late. All right. So if you've been doing it that way for years, try and change it if you like what you're doing. All right. So ways to reduce or manage your back pain. All right. I'm talking in general here too. It's not just carving. I'll try and tie in as much as I can with carving, but most of the activities that we do might not be carving. You're home on a weekend. You're doing things. You're walking around. You don't have the saw in your hand. It's what you're doing all the rest of the time that really makes a difference. So, really, really try and pay attention to it all the time. All right. So the lower back, chronic pain, we want to talk about how to prevent it, how to manage it, or, just make some improvements. So, things that we see in the clinic, we can pull somebody in who doesn't have any problem at all, no pain, and we can put them through some stretching tests and strengthening tests and tell them whether or not they're gonna have a back problem. There's a lot of research that's been involved with that, and most of the time we're dead on with it. The tight muscles will get overstretched or pull the vertebrae out. You have a tight muscle on one side, they get real tight, and it pulls your bone right out of it. And then you go to chiropractor, you got to go through adjustments. That sets you up for disc problems. So you have to be flexible, and you have to have the core strength. Okay. So we'll talk about the stretching part first. All right. What I'll do is I'm going to have my wife Cindy come up, and she's going to come up on this table right here. So what she's going to show you guys, now she used to be a gymnast, so don't be intimidated by the fact that you might not have the same range of motion, but I want to show you normal range of motion, okay?
Don, that's not the girl in the picture of your introduction. Could you explain that?
Well, what state are we in? Okay, well, Yeah, no, she's doing just fine for now. We even had her sign a piece of paper, so we're good. Okay, so I'm going to show you what normal range of motion is, and I'll also try and show you what we see in the clinic too, which I met Cindy in school, and we were in some of the same PT classes. I was used as the example of the bad guy who had no range of motion, and it was terrible, and she was always the perfect range of motion person. So you have that diversity there. Okay, so we're going to go through, so basically, and you might be able to see this video again at home. You'll be able to see it again, right?
Yes.
You know, so if you miss something here, you try something out, make sure to talk to your doctor. I'll always say that. But if you don't have this range of motion, then you want to find out how to get it. And you can talk to me about stretches and things like that. You know, I can do that, but I just can't diagnose, you know, your overall diagnosis is without doctor approval. So we're going to start with a straight leg raise. Okay. She's at 90 degrees. Leg is straight up. Okay. 90 degrees meaning the trunk is here, and it comes straight up. Leg is straight up in the air. Okay. In the clinic, we see the majority of people right there. Okay. And the hamstring, which she's stretching, you put your leg down. The hamstring, which she's stretching, attaches to your pelvis. So if you have a tight pelvis or a tight hamstring, you're walking around with your pelvis shifted all day long. So every step that you take, you're shifting your pelvis. Okay. You need to like an independent suspension, you need to have that thing working without pulling on your pelvis all day. So you have to have good hamstring range of motion. You know, I'll show a hamstring stretch. You're going to bend your knee, grab the back of your thigh, and slowly straighten your leg. Okay, so you feel a little gentle pull on the back. You may not get it straight. In fact, most of you won't get it straight. All right, but talking about static stretching, if you want to gain range of motion, hold it for 30 seconds, do it twice, and repeat it 3 times a day. Morning, noon, night. You're sitting there watching TV, usually a hockey game comes on and I drop on the floor and I just start doing all my stretches. You know, good use of time, right? You know, unless there's a fight, then you gotta jump up. But so straight leg raise is real important. We'll do single knee to chest. Okay, this is another stretch. If you take a look at her other leg, it's not the leg that she's stretching. Okay, this is actually a stretch for the low back. But if you see your knee pop up, you have tight hip flexors, okay, which are right here, okay? And if those are tight, that's shifting your pelvis too, okay? And that has to be done laying down. You'll automatically see, you'll pull your knee back and your other knee will just bend, okay?
Hey, Don?
Yep.
Is her lower back flat on the table, or is it arched when you're doing these?
Well, it'll vary from person to person, but she's not doing anything. Okay. If you bend both knees, your back is going to flatten. Your sacrum will automatically flatten. But usually if your legs are extended out straight, you have a little curve in your back. So if she brings one knee back and hugs it, we're just concerned with the hip on the other side if it pulls the knee up. All right. So if you don't have a full straight leg raise, if you have that problem there, big chance that you're going to have a back problem too, okay, in combination with the next two. Trunk rotation. In most people, their knee will pop up. A stretch for that, just a beginner stretch, is to do just what Cindy was doing, which is to pull the knee back and let the other hip stretch. You'll feel it. You'll feel it right away. Okay. Trunk rotation. All right. You put both of your knees together, your heels together, and you just let your knees fall to one side. Okay. And you can see that her one knee, the bottom knee, is pretty much touching the table, and the other knee is not far behind. All right. They should be together. They should all go over. Okay. Most people in the clinic, you're going to see that. Okay. And that's going to show tight muscles. All right. And you know, I'm not going to overload with 20 stretches here. These are just the basic 4 that we look for. If you're tight here, you're going to wind up pulling something someday. So just take note of these. The last one that I'll show you, you can turn over on your stomach. Okay. She's gonna press up with her hands, but her hips stay on the table. God, this kills me every time. I don't know how she does that.
I can't do that.
But her range of motion is a little excessive in this position. Your hips might start to lift up a little bit, but she has very good form there. The range of motion is very good. Most people, their hips will be up there, up a little bit higher even. When they do this full press up, you'll look stiff as a board, just like this. I don't know if everybody can see, but her hips are right up off that table. Okay? So that's another problem. Okay? So these four, if you go home and you do these four stretches with Dr. Approval, and you find that you're tight in any one of those, then you have to start getting those stretched out. Here she goes. Okay. All right. So those are the stretches. And again, kept pain-free, static stretches. All right. Anybody have any questions about those? No questions? Okay. So then the other part is the strengthening. Okay? And I'm going to go over even more stretches in a minute. You can look them up online or whatever you want to do. They're on your form. And everybody can look them up online. And they're pretty good examples. Is core strengthening. So if you have the range of motion, you have to have the core strengthening. Okay? So you have to have good abs, good back muscles. Okay? You think of your core being strong, you think of it as a back brace. If you don't have good core strength, then you don't have that back brace there to protect you when you're pushing, when you're pulling. Everything just kind of shifts around unpredictably in there. So you have to take note of that. All right. So it can act as a partial back brace if you have a good core. All right. All right. So
Speaking of back braces, what's your opinion on back braces?
Okay.
I'm getting ahead of you.
Yeah, but that's okay. I can talk about it now. The back brace is great for if you want to get through an activity. Okay, it's time to lift something. It's time to, if you want to use it for carving, if it helps reduce pain, they work. They sort of squish everything together and form a nice support. It's a good idea. But if you wear it a lot, back braces will actually cause muscle weakness in your back. And we see a lot of that too. Guys will come in and they just wear the back brace all the time, and we ask them to do one exercise and they can't even get themselves up off the ground. So with the back brace, it's okay to wear it. Just make sure you're doing a home exercise program that your doctor has given you. You want to do the home exercises to keep the core strength up. Now you have the strength. When the brace comes off and you need it for any other time, then it's there. But that is effective at reducing pain and supporting your back. Make sure to do the other exercises so you don't weaken. And that goes for a lot of joints.
I just wear it when it's awesome.
Oh, okay.
I just put it on.
Okay.
It's easier to put on before you put your coats on than get there and have to take all your coats off and freeze.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
That's all.
Does anybody have any other questions about the brace? There's all different kinds, but you know.
It isn't tight.
Yeah. It just gives you that extra support.
Well, I tightened up the car.
Mhm.
Right now it's...
Okay, well that's good. That's good. You gotta keep it loose. All right, so you know about the stretches. Then for core strengthening, I'll just give you some examples of core strengthening. We'll have Cindy come back up on the table here. All right, we're going to just show you a pelvic tilt, which is a basic starting point for people. And with her knees bent like this, she just tightens her stomach muscles. She makes sure that she can still breathe. She holds it for about 5 seconds, and she does it 30 times. She does it a few times a day, but needs that day in between to rest and repair. Any exercise in which you wear yourself out, you need that day of rest and repair in between. So this is a good starting point because unlike a sit-up that you're doing, you're bending your spine. If you have a back problem, it'll cause more problems. So this is nice and stable. So she's secure. Ways to progress this exercise would be holding her leg up, bringing her leg out and back, and then really advanced would be both legs up and then slowly lowering to the ground. How do you do that? Yeah, like that. That's advanced stuff. So there's a lot of different exercises that you can do, but that's a good one there to start with, not the advanced. All right, so we had that, the pelvic tilts, planks. You turn over on your stomach. This is a good stomach strengthening exercise. Prop up on your elbows, and you lift your hips up. Good. Keep yourself nice and straight. Doesn't look like much. Give yourself about 30 seconds, and you'll be crying. You know, if you're really in shape, you can hold yourself for a good 60 seconds or so. What?
Breathe.
Yeah. Yep. Got to make sure to breathe. If you don't breathe, the muscles don't get the oxygen. They quit early. Okay. So that's important. Plus, you'll pop a heart valve and things like that. So, okay. So that's a plank. Oblique strengthening. She lays on her side. I know we're just rushing through these, but if you look at the video when it's all done, if you want to, take a look at these when you're home and everything, at least you have it, She's going to lay perfectly on her side with good positioning, hips forward a little bit more. And she's just going to rise up, nice and straight, okay? She's working on her obliques, okay? Obliques are abdominal muscles that are on your sides that are responsible for actually twisting, okay? So there's that exercise. Yeah, we're going to give her a workout. All right, up on your hands and knees. Okay. When we do single leg extensions, this is for trunk stabilization. Hang on. You want to get yourself in a good position, knees apart a little bit more. They got to be right under your hips. Your hands need to be right under your shoulders. Back a little bit more. Hands back a little bit more. It's got to be good positioning. You tighten your stomach muscles just a little bit. Now it's not just kicking your leg back, okay? Because you'll strengthen some of the back muscles here when you do that. It's not just that though. You want to hold that back as still as you can and not shift your weight when you lift that other leg up. So go ahead and do it slowly. She shifted her weight a bit. Go back down. Can you see when she shifts her weight? Go ahead and lift up. Actually, that time she held it pretty stable. You'll feel it when you go to do the exercise. You'll feel yourself, shifting from side to side. Okay, but you want to hold as perfectly still as you can when you're doing it. Some people will actually put a towel on their back because they can feel the towel moving back and forth. That's a real good exercise. Advanced. Some people will put ankle weights on later on, things like that. Okay. Bridging. You turn around, around your back. Keep your knees bent, arms at your side. Okay, and she's just going to lift her pelvis up. Okay, looks pretty simple. You definitely don't want to do this if you have a neck problem because it'll hurt your neck. Okay, that's important. But she lifts her leg up, her pelvis up. A more advanced way to do it: straighten that leg and back down. There's other things you can do, figure eights with your leg and different things like that. You can sit up. And using a therapy ball, a round therapy ball, exercise ball, just make sure it's puncture proof. You can sit on that ball and just sitting there, you're working your core. Now you want to work out your arm, you want to do some curls or whatever, free weights and things like that. You're working your whole core just to balance on it. So therapy balls are awesome. You can exercise any part of your body except your facial muscles with that. So, okay, so we talked about, for the back, the mechanics, your stretching and your exercises. So you can refer back to this. You can look in here. The exercises are in here. You can punch them in the computer, pull them up, learn how to do them. You can call me and ask me. You can see how your range of motion is when you get home. Check out your core strength. If you cross your arms over your chest and you lay there with your knees bent and you try and pull yourself up just a little bit, just straight up, all right? And you start shaking, all right? You need exercise, okay? That's a real telltale sign that you need exercise. All right. So again, these will help decrease back pain. Some of the other stretches are in your packet here. Trunk rotations, piriformis stretches, the other jargon that you guys will probably be like, what? but look them up online, and you know, they can make a difference.
Hey, Don,
Yep.
if they want to look up what you're talking about, Yoga Journal, every one of those stretches that you perform is a yoga posture.
Oh yeah, there you go. Oh yeah, yoga's awesome.
Name. But I've done 3/4 this morning of what you showed already.
Oh, did you?
But I'm looking at it in a whole different light now,
Mm-hmm.
knowing what it's doing for me.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But 3/4 of that was my half-hour yoga routine this morning.
It helps, doesn't it?
Oh, I'm a firm believer in it.
Yeah.
I've been doing it 10 years.
Good, good.
But anyway, as I was telling them, Yoga
Yeah.
Journal has all of these in there.
Yoga Journal?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, very good. Well, you can check out yoga.
And believe
yoga.
me, they will help you.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point too. I mean, like I said, I had chronic back pain since 25 years old, and I learned how to do these series of stretches, and I could have the most intense pain, drop down, and I do these stretches, and get back up and ready to go again. It's almost like hitting a reset button, and a lot of our patients, you know, same results, the same results. You know, they'll swear by their stretching programs. It just takes a couple minutes. You know, you'll see results. You know, if you stick with it.
I have something.
Yep.
I have a WeFit, and I think that helps me a lot.
Actually,
It helps
yeah.
you do them properly.
Mhm.
Just do them.
Yep. WeFitness. It's a video game. Actually, my wife and I tried getting it for our kids some years ago, and it sold out. You know why it sold out? Because all the nursing homes bought them. All the nursing home bought the WeFit because it got everybody exercising in the nursing homes and things like that. And I talked my boss into getting one, and we got one. And there's a lot of things that you can do with the WeFit. You actually stand on a board, and it's balancing or exercising, and the computer screen tells you how to exercise. If you're doing it improperly, it kind of throws a little bit of fun into it. You know, I've done things like balancing in the center of the board, you know, while doing different balancing activities, and it actually works. I put a therapy ball right on top of that and had them do weight shifting and things like that. So it's, sky's the limit with something like that. You can talk to me about that. I got a lot of ideas that I've used with that. So it's a video game, but it's a lot of fun. Yeah. So good point. All right. So now we'll probably speed it up a little bit. Talk about proper body mechanics. You know, a lot of guys, you already been to probably a million seminars that talk about body mechanics, keep your back straight up and down, things like that. You know, things that I've talked about earlier. All right. So these are the big ones. Just as a review for some that already know it. You want to bend your knees and keep your back straight up and down. Widen your stance. That'll help balance you. Okay, so that you're not kind of teetering. Give yourself a good stance. Okay. No bending at the waist is the #1 rule. Okay. As much as possible with the saws. I know it's tough. I know it is. Test your load before you lift it. A lot of guys will actually grab onto something, lift it, and realize it's too heavy, but it's too late. You know what I mean? So know what you're lifting first. Okay. Proper breathing. You don't want to hold your breath when you're lifting it, for the reasons I just mentioned. You know, you really can hurt your heart when you do that. You want to tighten your stomach muscles just before you lift something, okay, and that'll help stabilize your spine. A couple common ways to lift. A little bit stress on the back, but a safe way to lift is the power lift. Is spread your legs, squat down, and pick up the object, okay. It's an effective and safe way to do it, but I prefer the tripod lift, which is to do a lunge down, pick up your object, transfer it over to your other leg, push down and straight up. Okay, I like doing that one. I don't have a problem with my knees. Some people might find that troubling if you have a knee problem. So, you know, maybe some strengthening, bring the knees around, or just, you know, find other ways to do it. Okay. Because of the, you know, the fusion that I had, and knowing that some of my other discs are problematic, and that's usually anybody who has a back problem. We'll usually have more than one disc that's involved. So it's tough to lift a lot of heavy loads because you've already compressed the disc. Now you're compressing it even more, so you want to try not to lift. over 50 pounds. I pretty much don't lift anything over 35 pounds. And, you know, say that was, I had a big lighthouse yesterday that I'm tipping down and coming back up, but I really didn't lift it. And I had some people helping me out. My wife helped me out. She's pretty strong. She's my back. But, you know, you can do just about anything without lifting, okay? Without putting stress on your back if you do things right. Talk about a couple of those ideas. You know, real quick too, if you slouch at home, that's like bending over at the waist. So it's the same thing. If you have a disc problem and you slouch, you're bending over at the waist. So that's going to cause more problems with your back, with your discs, things like that. So that's important too, all right? Avoid slouching. I wrote in here, brains beats brawn, you know, hands down. You know, if you can do it smarter, you're going to last, you know?
I've done it so long,
yeah, that could be a problem. Yeah, you gotta get those stretches in there. Okay, so I'll just go over a couple of things that I've seen, you know, with the carving that helps me out too. First is a hydraulic cart. Has everybody seen hydraulic cart and how they work and where to get them? Not really. Harbor Freight. This is their smaller cart. It's got a 500-pound capacity. I haven't had a problem lifting anything. They have a 1,000-pound capacity, which I prefer. Unfortunately, as some things go from certain stores, you know, they don't work so well. I ran into one that didn't work so well. It's on my trailer to come here, and it's sprung a leak. So I had to take it out in the last minute and put my old reliable here. But they are very good. We use one at my shop. Haven't had a problem with it. Art Hilger, the guy who owns the shop, has had it for, I don't know, I think he said 10, 12 years. Yeah. So I'll show you the cart here. Get away from the speaker. I got the wheels locked here, but this cart is a little bit smaller than the 1,000-pound capacity. I prefer the 1,000-pound capacity because it's wider and it's heavier. It's much heavier. It won't tip on you, not as much. What I've done with my cart is I just put some wood around, because the cart comes to you with just metal and you touch your saw off and things like that. You don't want to hit your saw on the metal. I've seen some guys, they take the handle off of here so that they don't have problems walking around, things like that. So I just put a couple pieces of wood down there. And this one, I have it overhanging probably more than you should. It increases its ability to tip. It'll tip a little bit easier because I have the overhang on it. Okay. My 1,000-pound capacity, I just have the board over about an inch on each side. Works great. I mean, I can put some really, really heavy logs on it. But the great thing about it is you put your carving on here and you can just pump your work right up. I don't want to crack a tile or anything. You can pump your work right up. The other cart raises a little faster, but you know, you imagine I was working on a lighthouse yesterday, and I had to work on the rocks, and if I had to squat down, I wouldn't have done such a good job. I don't know if I am now, but you get it up nice and high, and now you can carve the bottom of that carving. You're not squatting down. You're not straining your back. You know, you go ahead, you carve the bottom of the carving. You hit the release on it, you lower it a little bit, you work a little bit higher up on the carving, and you just keep going down. And that 1,000-pound capacity actually comes up a little bit higher too. It's a real good cart, but this is a good cart too. I haven't had any problems with it. I'll show you when I load things onto it. You have two wheels that move side to side. I just come up to the cart with a dolly, because now you have some height. You got the carving off the ground, and you know, because the wheels are lifting it off the ground, and you come up to the cart and you just get the lip of the carving on here. Now with this cart, because of the overhang, and like I said, it's a much lighter cart, it tips a little bit more, but the other cart doesn't really do that. So you get the carving right up to it, and instead of pushing it over here where the wheels can move, I just butt up to it right here on the back wheels because they're stationary. They're not going to move so much on you. And I roll the carving right up. Carving's already at like a 70-degree angle, 60-degree angle, and I push right up. I'm not loading my spine. I'm not lifting anything. Just push the carving right up. I turn it as I come up. All right, if you try and just push a real big diameter log, it's not going to work so well. So just give it a little turn. You're up, and it works. I also use it to load up the truck. You know, I got a real heavy carving, goes up as high as the tailgate, slide it out. You know, and then unloading, same thing. So it's a real versatile tool here. It'll save your knees, it'll save your back, it'll save your neck, it'll save, you know, a lot of strains. You know, I don't know where I'd be without this thing. So.
I have the Rockwell jaw horse. That's big for small things.
Oh, okay.
Kind of holds your feet on the ground.
Oh yeah.
What was that?
It has the clamp.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a real nice tool too.
What product is that again?
The Rockwell jaw horse.
Louder, Don?
Rockwell jaw horse. I know the jaw horse. Yeah, I've seen that over at Tractor Supply everywhere. Yeah, it's a real good tool, and you don't have to bend over to hold it and things like that. You know, you can do your small items on it, like what was your name?
You can crush the wood with it. It has some strength too.
Oh yeah, it does. It's got a little pump on it. Yeah, it locks it into place. It's a nice one. So,
Question?
anybody?
Suggestion.
Question?
Yeah.
If you have a pallet that you take a bigger carving, tip it back, roll it up on it, gets it halfway up, then you can tip it up on there.
Mm-hmm.
For that thing with that back that gets in your way when you're carving,
Yep.
you can make a lazy Susan that you put on there, 2 pieces of plywood with a 12-inch lazy Susan. You can buy them at Home Depot.
Oh, okay.
And then you drill holes on the outside of that lazy Susan so that when you set your carving on that thing, you can be in one spot, maybe heat behind you, the light just right.
Yeah.
And then you just rotate the thing, and I take a golf ball and I take a little piece of metal that goes in it, and I use that around the bottom to keep it from moving, because you start cutting, that lazy Susan's going to move on you.
Oh, okay.
But you can be in one spot and do all your carvings using that lazy Susan.
Oh, yeah. See, that's a real good idea there too.
Excellent.
Everybody hear that? He puts together something like a lazy Susan, so that when you put your carving on it, you can just turn the carving in place. So you don't have to walk around the carving. Sometimes when we're carving, we want just the right light for the right shadow. You can see it better, and that would work out real well.
Use the whole dowel top of the tray.
Oh, okay. Yeah, have some dowels in there so it doesn't turn.
The very outside edge of that thing, I put several holes in the top so that ball is not in the way, and you're always going to hit it. That's why I use a golf ball rather than a screwdriver or something. If you're going to be cutting and you're going to hit that, you break screwdrivers.
Yeah. Oh, that's a real good idea. Very good idea. And the pallet, you're basically saying that you have a pallet maybe on the ground. That way you can roll your carving up onto the pallet if you're not using a dolly or something like it. The dolly's a little tricky too. I left out a part of it too. But then it's almost like stepping up to the cart, so that would make it easier to load. What I do with the dolly, when I push it up to the cart and it comes up to the cart, I have to put my foot on the back wheel so that it doesn't roll out. Then I push and turn the carving all at once. If anybody wants to see what I'm talking about too, I can have a carving
I
here.
use my dolly to get it up on my stumps like this. I have chunks of wedges. We've got wedges all over the place.
Oh yeah.
I just kick one of those in behind each wheel, then I can go work on it. It holds it there, the weight on it holds the dolly. You pull the weight off it, it goes bang to the ground, but who gives a shit? You got hearing protection on anyway.
Yeah. See, that's a good.
So you can concentrate on what you're handling and forget
Yeah,
the dolly rolling.
without worrying about your foot and your positioning. And actually, my positioning, I probably do a little bit more torque because I'm keeping my foot on the back of that dolly. So yeah, that would probably be a simple way to do it.
Put the hand truck up, kick them under the wheels. I can let go of it. It sets there.
Yeah.
Log up. I use a
Sounds easy enough.
hay hook to pull a lot of stuff up. Because
Yeah.
use your hand up.
Yeah, using a hay hook, a cant hook. I've lifted, I don't know, if there's a 4-pound log on the ground and it's pretty heavy, I put a cant hook on it, and that increases your leverage by a ton. And that thing is like as light as a feather. You got to balance it just right, you know, because otherwise the log wants to try and roll on you. But if you have the cant hook, you can lift it up too without, you know, doing a lot of lifting with your back. But hay hooks and things like
Lay
that.
down a 4x4, roll it up to 4x4, you get it on 45 hooks.
Yeah. Once you get an increased angle on your log, it's a lot easier. That's what I do with the cart too. Is I'll have a log on the ground and I'll lift it with one end of the dolly just to lift the end up, and I get the cart underneath it and I pump the cart up, and the cart stands it up to a 45 or 50 degree, and then I just push it from there. So, you know, that works too, as long as you can get it up to a good degree. That's a good point. Okay, then I'll just show you a crane picture up here. I don't know, you guys might have seen it already. This is, you can purchase this at Harbor Freight also, and they have it mounted in the truck here. It works very well. The guy that I carved with down there on Market Street, he has this mounted on a platform right in front of his shop, and he will use this to lift a 10-foot log.
If you mount that in the bed of your truck like that, if you mount that in the bed of your truck like that, it'll bend the bed.
It'll bend the bed?
Yeah. You got to have some kind of plate underneath. The way it comes from Harbor Freight, it really doesn't work like that.
Because it's so small?
Well, no, because
the
sheet metal on the truck really can't support any kind of weight. They'll just bend up. You have to actually come up with some way of attaching it to the frame, and it doesn't, you know, like I said, from Harbor Freight, it doesn't quite work like that. I've seen guys that actually have attachments that hook into the trailer hitch of the truck, and then they put a block of wood under that frame, and that will allow you to put it up into the truck.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, that's a good tip. Yeah, and I would have gone right out and tried to hook it up just like that.
Yeah, I stuck a 2-foot by 2-foot by 3-foot hunk of steel underneath my truck before I mounted it.
Oh, okay.
Because I put it on there, hooked it in the frame, and went to use it. Of course, it's ripping up on the bed and everything. So instantly pulled it back off.
All right. Yeah, that's a real good tip then, to stabilize that thing so it doesn't rip your truck to pieces. But you can also, you know, increase the size of the base. Like I said, he has it attached to a big platform, and it's stabilized there, you know, on the ground. And he'll pick up an 8-foot log. He'll probably laugh at me when I said a 10-foot log, but you can pick up a really big sizable log, and he lifts them up and he puts them on the cart. That's how he does it. And the boom on that extends up pretty high. And, you know, even if it weren't from Harbor Freight, you know, there's a lot of different ones out there. You know, but that's a good tool too. You just kind of choke it around the log.
Tommy Gates.
Sorry?
Tommy Gates.
Tommy Gates?
Yeah, it's the one that goes on the back of the truck, goes up and down.
Oh yeah. He's got that in his truck too. I don't have that, but it looks pretty easy.
Jeff Penny's got one. It's wonderful.
Oh yeah.
It's wonderful.
How much does it weigh about? You know how much they weigh?
You don't put them on a half ton.
Oh okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so they're probably pretty heavy. You know, the only other thing that I built a tripod lift. I used some pressure treated wood, and I built a 10-foot tripod lift to try and stand up my logs, lift them up, and it works really well. It's a little bit of a setup, but you can go online and get all kinds of blueprints for it and everything, but the tripod lift, it just has 3 pieces of wood, one coming down. I use pressure treated. I live on the edge, so I use just a 2x4. It's pretty strong, but it could be even a little bit bigger than that. But you have 3 legs, and then I put a lift in the middle. Pulley. And you just attach a pulley on a ring up on the top, and I would hook it around the log, and I could lift a good 600-pound log straight off the ground, stand it up. Oh, there's the Tommy gate. Cool. I could lift a good 800-pound log right off the ground. I put some things on the feet so that they would stay put, because if you try and put one of those on a driveway or something like that, the legs will slide out on you. So I put eye hooks, big eye hooks on the bottom, and I put some chains down that actually attach to these eye hooks on each leg. And I put the chain down and I roll the log onto it, and then I would attach the chains, then go to lift it. And then when the pressure is pushing down, it doesn't allow the legs to slide out on me. All right. If I'm doing it on the grass, I also took some stakes that go through 2 of the eye hooks straight down into the ground, and then I just push the stakes down into the ground so that it doesn't shift on me on the grass. There's a lot of ways to lift. You know, use your truck on a pulley, on a tree. You know, there's a lot of different ways to do it. You know, but anybody else have any suggestions for lifting better techniques? Or
always let gravity.
That's right. That's right. Don't wrestle with the thing. You know, let gravity help you. Find the center of your log. Sorry? Yeah.
Anybody
Yeah.
think down the engine hoist wheels or something other than paper? Engine hoist.
Oh, yeah.
As long as you've got bigger wheels.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good one.
If you're moving a big log with a can hook and you want to turn the log, find the center of that log and push it onto a small wedge in the center, and that log will turn right around.
Yeah, that's a real good one. You get something right in the center of the log, and you can spin the log right around in whatever direction you want to go without much effort. Right? Yeah, that's a good tip. Very good tip. Anybody else? All right. Well, it's a good thing we still have some food over there. Getting towards lunchtime now. No, I'll try and speed it up for us. So we'll go into the neck. Not going to spend a lot of time on the neck because basically a lot of the same mechanics with the back. You saw up here, you saw how the disc slides back into the nerves by bending over at your waist. So if you spend a lot of time looking down, that's the same exact thing that's going to happen to your discs. All right, you're not loading your spine, but you're spending all of the time, you're pushing on the front of that jelly donut all the time, and eventually that jelly is going to go backwards, okay, just like in the video. So that's why I say, again, slouching, it bends both your neck and your head, so you want to sit up nice and straight. But, you know, there's a lot of different problems with the neck, but we see a lot of disc problems. Disc problems, just like with the back problem. If you have a disc problem in your back, people get pain down into the legs, numbness, tingling, which can be manageable. But when you start losing strength in the muscles because the signal's not getting through to the legs, and the guys can't pick their toes up, you know, they got to pick their leg up like this. They have drop foot, their foot slaps down. You know, they were trying to muscle through also, but you know, the back is obviously winning. They can't lift their foot up anymore. You know, so that's a real big problem. You know, we see a lot of these things, and it progresses. So, you know, just like that herniation, you don't want the herniation to touch the nerves in the back. You don't want the herniation to touch the nerves in the neck either. All right. You get nerves that come down into your arms that control our carving. So if you have a disc herniation or a disc bulge back there, you're gonna start to lose sensation in your hands, drop your saw, drop tools. You'll get numbness, tingling down in the arms, weakness, and then you won't be carving. So, there's a few things that are real important about the neck, and that's not to focus a lot of your time looking down, and that goes for activities at home, but while carving also, right? Because you're also holding on to a heavy saw at the same time, looking down and causing a big strain on your neck. So there's the card again, raise it up, you know, you're looking straight on. What I'll do sometimes too, if I find myself looking down at something and carving a bit, I'll either raise the card up higher or I'll go down And I know you're not supposed to have the saw up as high, but you know, I'll actually look up a little bit. That goes for sanding or whatever. But change your position. Don't get stuck like this. If you're reading, get it up in front of you. You know, especially if you have a problem with this, it just progresses. So as long as you got your head out like this, it'll get worse and worse. Okay. So with the neck, static and dynamic stretching again. Okay. You can go through your available range of motion. You want to make sure that you're up straight. Some people are bent over and go, I can't turn my neck. Well, bring yourself up straight, and all of a sudden you got more range of motion. Right. A lot of problems that we see with the neck actually happen in the shoulders, right? We do a lot of things in front of us, so we've got good pecs, okay? We move everything forward, we're doing everything in front of us. We don't do anything towards the back. So what happens is these guys get real strong, everything comes forward. Everything comes forward, you can't bring your neck back because you got everything forward, okay? You're strong in the front, okay? But if you stretch these out, you're able to bring your head back again, okay? You know, that's real important. So what we do for neck problems in physical therapy is we stretch out the chest muscles, okay? You've seen some stretches, guys will lock their hands behind their head and stand up. You don't lock your hands behind your head because it pushes your head forward. But you just put your hands up by your ears, chest out, elbows back. You stretch out the chest muscles. You want to give it range of motion, all right? So we do two things. We stretch out the chest muscles so that you can bring your shoulders back so you can get your head back up on top of your shoulders. Yes? Doorway stretches, corner stretches. Yep. You go up into a doorway. You do it at varying heights. You can start here, and then up here. All you do is you lean into the door. You feel a pull across your chest, and you hold it for 30 seconds, twice, 3 times. Same for static stretching. A couple weeks ago I was carving too, and everything was real tight, and I put my hands up by a doorway and I just did everything, you know, just leaned in there and you got the stretch up. I did the trunk extension stretch, which I need to bounce back to. So when we lean over all the time, if you find yourself leaning over, you need to reverse your posture. So I'm just jumping back to the back for a second. So you stand up and you reverse your posture. You have to put your hands on your back side and actually do some extensions, okay? So you want to reverse whatever bad position you're in, okay?
I was taught to do what they call a wall crawl. So you get up next to the wall, you start like that elbow height, gradually work way up.
Yep.
It's
You walk your fingers out.
Get your back a bit, and it's a mild way of doing it, and slowly stretch.
Yep. Yep, that's a very good way to do it. Yep, because some muscles, if they're in spasm, if you do something rapidly, it'll actually clamp, cause more pain, stop you from doing it, or stop your range of motion. So a wall climb, or just slide your hands up, that's a good one. That was the only one I left out of the back, was that you have to reverse your posture. If you spend some time like this, then you want to do this. If you spend your time like this, then you want to do this. You want to stretch the other way. All right, every hour. The hula hoop?
Yeah.
I could never do that thing.
You don't have to, you know, if you can't, you can feel exactly where the catches are.
Yeah?
Where you've been working, because you can feel it in all the muscles.
Okay, yeah. Hula hoop is very good for range of motion, and it'll give you coordination. And
See and feel exactly what was working on.
yeah, that's a good one. Hula hoop. Never good. Yeah, so just reverse your posture. Sorry, I had to jump back there for a second, but it sort of plays into everything else that you do. So I'm looking up. All right, you have to stretch in the opposite direction. You're looking down, you want to do some extensions. All right, you can do a 20-second hold with the neck. You don't have to hold as long with the neck. But that's going to help to reverse things. You don't want to work into a painful range. Sometimes people have discs trapped back there, and they feel a pinch, and they're like, well, I got to stretch it, you know, and shove it back there, and they actually chip off a part of their disc because they're forcing themselves through the pain. You know, it's a natural tendency, but, you know. Yes, side to side. The cervical stretches, you know, looking down, but only if you don't have disc problems. Looking back, to the side, to the other side, and rotations. All right, and you can hold those in position for the 20 seconds. Another good one for the upper traps, because we're holding onto that saw. Our upper traps up here are working pretty hard. When you turn your head or flex your head to the side like this, you get a stretch coming down into your upper trap. And if you take your hand behind your back with a gentle pull, you'll feel that stretch come all the way across and even down a little bit. It's a real nice stretch, but you got to keep it pain-free.
And Don, for the audience, a trap is what?
Trapezius muscle group. Yep. Trapezius muscle group. It actually starts up on the back of your head, and it spreads and fans out your shoulders, and then almost in a diamond shape in your back. Okay.
You get yourself with a bad headache. A lot of times that's what it is too.
Yeah, tight.
You've been looking down too long, and it's like it'll start up your back to your head, and go to the top of your head, and do it for your head.
Exactly.
And you can just do some of those stretches and stuff. You'll find the headache will start going away.
Exactly. If you took a weight and put it in your hand like this, okay, and just let the weight sit on your hand, okay, after a while your wrist is going to get real sore, okay. That's the back of your neck. When your head's forward all the time, all those muscles are working overtime, just hanging on and killing you. So you got to give them a break. After a while, that wrist starts hurting if you hold that weight. So your head is about 12, 14 pounds. So that's a good amount of weight to have the muscle support back there. So that was a good tip. So you want to get through all your stretches. All right. There's examples of some exercises. Especially to straighten up neutral spine, is to do a chin tuck, which is basically making a double chin. It's just pulling your chin straight back. Some guys put their finger on their chin, straight back, and you hold that for about 2 or 3 seconds and repeat it 10 times. You feel some soreness, but it stretches certain muscles to straighten you up and strengthens the ones to keep your head straighter. Okay, so you got to check with your doctor on those. So as carvers, if we're bending over a little bit and our head might be down, and you might be flexed even slightly, when you put the saw down, and you can do some extensions and also a neck extension at the same time. Extension, but you do one, the back, and then the neck, because if you do them both together, you might overstretch one, ahead of the other one, all right? But that's important, just go through 10 reps real quick, like I wrote some other things, I'll stare at the log and I'm just kind of, hey, what am I going to do to change it? And, you're standing there talking to somebody, just get in the habit of doing it. It'll really make a difference. Okay. So avoid looking down for a long time, and avoid looking up for a long time too. A lot of stress on your joints. Painters especially, we see a lot of painters, as they look up, and tons of pressure is being put on your joints by staring up all the time. All right, so try and avoid looking down too much or up too much, okay? That's a real important one. Reverse your posture, chest muscles, all right? So once you stretch out the chest muscles, in between your shoulder blades, there's some muscles, levator scap, there's some different muscles back there, rhomboids, I should say. Which actually pull your shoulder blades together, which keep your shoulders back. And this is the whole premises of physical therapy in terms of muscle imbalances, is stretch certain muscles and strengthen the other ones, and you can reposition yourself. You can take pressure off of one area and put it on the other area. Okay, you can change your body's whole posture just by stretching some and strengthening others. If you strengthen a muscle without stretching it, it will shorten, okay? My bicep is not, my arm, I can't straighten it, all right? After a long time when I used to work out a lot, do all these bicep curls, I never stretched them, You lose range of motion. A lot of you guys out there, you walk and your arms are bent a little bit, right? But nobody pays attention to those stretches. It changed you, okay? So if you want to change your posture, your position, stretch out the chest muscles, but then you're going to do some exercises, and they're rowing exercises, all right, which are going to strengthen in between your shoulder blades, all right? You can check with your doctor and your PT again about these. But those are real good exercises to bring those shoulders back. Stretch, strengthen, and it'll just, when you rest, your shoulders will rest in a different position. We have people, we do plumb line tests when they come in, from the side, hanging from the ceiling. They're like this, and we tell them to relax. They don't know what we're doing. We do another test. They're actually back after strengthening for a while. So it makes a huge difference. All right.
Yeah, you guys that don't always
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
When I drive, it takes me 12 hours to get up here, and I get sleepy, and then I do contractions. I'll do my arm, my bicep, then I'll push down with my tricep. But you got any other recommendations for? And I'll do the chest things and stuff just to keep the blood going. But do you have any other?
Flowing?
Pardon?
Yeah.
Do you have any other
isometrics.
suggestions of what to do to get that blood moving and get you?
Yeah, you can do some isometrics, which are exercises in which you don't actually move. All right. That pelvic tilt that you saw Cindy do here, she just tightened her stomach muscles. Tighten the stomach muscles, big muscle group. You can get the blood flowing real good with that. All right. You're just sitting there and you just tighten your stomach muscles. You're breathing. Yeah. You can squeeze your legs together. You got cruise control on. Towel in between your legs or something like that. You can push one leg down into the seat. These are all big muscle groups. You push your leg down into the seat, and make sure you're driving all right. But you can work your hamstring and your butt muscles. These are big muscle groups too, so that'll get things going.
pelvis while you're sitting, you can do a little.
Yeah.
Get the blood flowing in your butt from sitting in the seat so long.
Yeah.
And I started to say a while ago, you guys are thinking like, and I know it's in some of your heads, it's like all these exercises, like, yeah, okay. And I'm just going to tell you, 4 years ago, I could not have held a saw. So all these exercises, I went through like 6 months of severe physical therapy, doing a lot of what he's talking about. And that is the only reason why I'm even able to be here. 4 years ago, I couldn't have stood for more than 30 minutes, and I could not have held a saw in my hand for 5. So if you want to be able to keep doing this, if you love what you're doing and you want to be able to keep doing it, they are important.
Mm-hmm.
They will make a difference in your life and how much you get out of it. So it is important to remember.
Yeah, thanks a lot for that, because it does make a big difference. Like I said, one day can change everything. If you're not prepared for it, I faced the possibility. I had just started to learn how to carve, and I knew it was going to be my life, and it was everything. Never been so passionate about anything ever before. And that patient pulled my back down. And sure, there was a patient that had done that, but I could have done it to myself by not doing things the proper way. And I was faced with, how am I going to carve? And it was the first thing. And it's a horrible feeling. And I had a fusion, and I was like, well, how am I going to come back from this? Am I going to be able to hold a saw without the vibration on it? Is it going to hurt my back? It's a horrible feeling to not know if you'll be able to carve again. Especially, I know how much you guys love carving probably just as much as me. And it's a horrible feeling. Yeah.
John pushes me on my days, my bad days, when I don't want to move. He's like, come on, get up, let's get going, because he's right. Even if you're hurting, once you get up and get moving, I have a body riddled with arthritis and rheumatoid arthritis. And like I said, 4 years ago, I could hardly move.
Yeah.
So the exercises do help. It helps keep you lubricated, helps keep you moving.
It does.
And in days you're sore, the best thing you can do is push yourself and make yourself just get up.
Yep.
You do find out what your limitations are.
Yep.
I have those days and I can look at them and go, it ain't happening.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, you gotta listen to yourself.
but it does help.
Yeah.
It will make a very big difference in how long you'll be able to do this job.
Yeah. Thanks again for that. And in physical therapy too, there's sequencing. Certain sequencing and muscle strengthening that's involved too. So it's not just going home and saying, okay, I'm gonna just make myself real strong. You can exercise. Get an athletic trainer, or you can learn yourself how to do certain exercises and things like that. But when you're talking about balancing muscles and muscle groups and things like that, physical therapy will help direct you along the way. Okay, we're going to do this, make sure that's loose, this, and give you the program, send it home with you and say, good luck, you know, and then take care of yourself, you know. Where, you know, some other professions, they want you to keep coming back. But there are good, most professions are good at giving you the knowledge for home. That's when you know you have the good, you know, chiropractors. Some say, oh, what about chiropractors? Chiropractors are great. They manipulate the spine. They can get you straight again. A good chiropractor will give you the exercises to keep it balanced. And if they don't, they just say, keep coming back. You're going to keep coming out of whack, you know. Make sure that they do exercise.
I also had a doctor, finally somebody who could explain something to me that I understood. Because I have arthritis and it's in a joint, you're thinking that's where the pain is coming from, that's what's causing the pain. But your body's natural reaction is if, like, okay, I have a bad knee, all right? Your body's natural reaction to protect that injured knee is for all your muscles to tighten around it. So when those muscles tighten up around it, it puts pressure on the bad knee and causes even more pain. So just keeping those muscles relaxed and stuff will make all the difference in the world in the pain you have. You know, so if you keep that in mind, if you have a bad knee, a bad shoulder, whatever, and the worst thing you can do is when you're carving and you're feeling it tighten up, quit pushing yourself. Stop. Take that 5 minutes. Stretch that out. Don't let it get to the point where you can't move it. You know, I mean, then you really cause it.
Then you strain it.
You know, but that's, like, those of you who have arthritis, that's what causes a lot of your pain, is the muscles tightening around the joint, trying to protect it. And if you can keep those muscles loose, you won't be in near as much pain.
Listening to your body. I get cold pants, stop carving, because it's not cold, it's circulation and muscle problems and so on.
I'm going to talk about that briefly too.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so you know, with the neck, the stretches, some of the exercises, avoid prolonged looking down or up. Okay, reversing your posture, whatever posture you're stuck in, go the other way. All right. Postural awareness, right chest muscles, slouching. You can also form a little lumbar support when you're sitting somewhere. Most of what we sit on is soft. All right, you go to the showroom, you sit on the couch, it's nice and soft, it's comfortable, yay. But after 10, 15 minutes, which you're not going to sit there, it'll, you know, you can start feeling pain and things like that, especially if you have chronic pain. So, you know, put a towel roll behind your back so that you do keep that extension. So, you know, like I said, if you flex forward, that's going to hurt the discs. So a little extension with a towel back there will help to keep things neutral also. Okay. All right. So just briefly, some modalities you'll see in physical therapy. It's not just a promotion for, you know, hey, everybody go to physical therapy or anything like that, but, you know, it can help. You know, I've seen it, we've made a huge difference to a lot of people. You know, first you want to talk to your doctor. They will most times give you a referral to a physical therapist. Okay. They'll give you exercises and home exercise programs. For people who have disc problems in their back or their neck, there's traction units which actually separate your vertebrae. So there's a type of traction unit at home. It has a pulley with a harness that attaches to you, comes over the door, and then there's weights. So it actually pulls your head up. It's almost, we joke around with people who are hanging them. It's something to help deal with the chronic problem at home. Physical therapy places will have mechanical, electrical traction units. That'll help your discs. So if you pull something apart, what usually happens with the thing in between, it'll straighten up. Okay, so if you do a traction, it can help that disc to reseat, to go back into position potentially. So that's a good thing. They have it both for the back and the neck. So that's a good thing to check into, okay? What else do we have here? Electrical stimulation units. This is a machine that I use at work, and it has electric stimulation. You don't see the wire leads coming out of it, but it hooks up and it reduces pain. Okay, it also can speed up the healing process. You know, so those are a couple of things that you can use. They also have home TENS units. These are the electrodes and the leads, and this is the unit. So you just, without being all tangled up, you usually just wear it on your hip. This is an older version. The newer ones protect the dial so you don't accidentally zap yourself. With these units, if they're set the right way, you can actually make your hand do whatever you want it to do, just through the electrical. But don't do that. Don't do that. We would joke around in school, and you know, you can pass that around. No, but you can accidentally turn that up too much and really jolt yourself. So you want to be careful with the dials. If you did use something like that at home, again, doctor, physical therapist, they'll test it out, see if it works for you. Then they might prescribe one for home for you, something like that. Without insurance, I think I paid like $60 for it or something like that. You know, maybe get one on eBay for less. You know, so they're good units to have. Yeah. So they're pretty affordable. They just overload the nerves so that it distracts the pain. Okay. Also speeds up circulation. Yeah. Feel free to get up and move around. A lot of people. You ever feel the pressure? TENS unit. Yep. Called a TENS unit. I wrote it in your packet. It says traction or TENS unit. Yeah. A lot of people. Meetings and things like that, they'll feel the need to just sit still the whole time and get up and move around. I mean, I'll get right up in the middle of a meeting and hey, you know. Which I'll have to say, I actually quit physical therapy full time so that I could go full time with PT this last August, which was a huge step. But you know, this is where my love is. You know, I love carving that much, so it made a big difference in my life. Ultrasound machine, which was also on that electrical stim unit. It looks like a telephone, and they rub it over your joints. And what it does is it vibrates, and it speeds up circulation into those tendons that don't have the capillary flow. Like I was describing to you guys earlier, you know how the blood's not flowing through those capillaries? We all get the tendinitis because we're getting older, we smoke, we have caffeine, things like that. Well, the ultrasound machine, not as a remedy for smoking, but it speeds up circulation in those joints real deep where heat, nothing else can reach. So it's a real useful, they don't have that for home, because you can actually cook yourself. Do it wrong. Our instructor actually held it up to a hot dog and cooked it, but you know. But you got to keep the head moving. You don't want to know all that. All right, so other things they do are massage techniques, like chiropractors, manipulations. Aquatic therapy is good, takes pressure off the joints. Just a different form of exercise, and there's a lot more. So we'll get on to the wrists. Yeah, thanks. Carpal tunnel syndrome. Is there anybody have carpal tunnel syndrome here? Okay. Carpal tunnel syndrome is a real issue with the wrists. And if you can pull that picture up. And I'll show you what you're looking at here. Basically, you have a nerve running through your wrist, all right? And when that nerve gets irritated through bending, vibration, or just genetics, I'll come over here and show you. This is the nerve right here, all right? That's your median nerve, and it's packed in here. Okay, there's not a lot of room for anything else. So if that nerve swells, it starts touching other things. These are your carpal bones. It starts touching other things, and it sets off a chain reaction of irritation and pain and weakness. All right. Basically, what happens? If you can go to the next picture, please. Basically, what happens? The nerve becomes inflamed. And you know you have carpal tunnel syndrome if your thumb, your pointer finger, your middle finger, and half of your ring finger are tingling. Your pinky's not included. Okay? Pinky's not included with that. Then you know you have carpal tunnel syndrome. All right? And what happens is you get that constant numbness and tingling within those fingers. You think, well, you can manage with that. But then what happens is that nerve gets cut back so much that we'll see guys that have no muscle in their hands. The muscle just disappears from your hand and you can't grip. You can't grip so well. All right, so it's constant pain, it's numbness, tingling, and now you're losing your strength and you don't have strength. So it's real important to pay attention to something like this. Some people are just genetically set up that way. They have a little bit too much maybe adipose tissue, fat tissue in between around the nerve. They're just set up like that. They're designed that way. And other people, well, we bring it upon ourselves, right? We got chainsaws, we're bending our wrists, you know, different things like that. So when you're working with the saws, you want to make sure that you're not bending your wrists a lot, okay? Because that crimps the nerve. It's just like a straw. You bend the straw and it kind of crimps. You know, your nerve gets crimped, it swells, you know, things like that. So the vibration of the saw, use some anti-vibe gloves. That'll help because the vibration will shake the heck out of the nerve. I heard that the gel, I've gone online and tried to research it as much as I could, and that the gel is supposed to work better, but they're expensive and they wear out faster. I know I had a pair in maybe 3 or 4 months. But
I've got a pair that has heavy flow all the way across the long set.
Oh, okay.
It's like that thick.
Oh,
Your
good.
grip is larger.
Yeah,
You know,
a little tougher to hold on to.
Yeah,
But
it's pretty neat.
okay, well, good. So there's gloves that have some good amount of foam in there. So that'll help if you have carpal tunnel syndrome or if you want to prevent it, okay? When you don't have carpal tunnel syndrome, you want to do static and dynamic stretches, which I'll go over in just a minute, okay? You want to avoid working with flexed or extended wrists, okay? Because that's where your pain comes from, okay? And it'll just keep irritating it over and over and over again. Cold pack applications will work with that. You could also do an ice massage for 1 minute. You take an ice cube and go right over the nerve, right over the front of the wrist, and just for 1 minute. That's all you would do. And that would help reduce irritation. And some doctors will actually tell you to put a brace on at night, okay? And the reason for that is, listen, if you can pass that around for me. If you go to sleep, which you will, you bend your wrist and you don't even know it, okay? And that will irritate the carpal tunnel syndrome. Even though it doesn't wake you up, it will still irritate the nerve, where a lot of doctors may prescribe a brace to keep your wrist nice and straight. It's not going to weaken you. You take it off in the morning and then you go about your day. But at least that nerve wasn't being irritated at night. So a brace is coming around, just to give you an example. And
What do they do for surgery to fix that?
they go in and they take some of the extra tissue out from around it. They try and create a little bit more room. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they'll just increase space.
Besides this, there's now these nylon ones that are sort of more of a reminder. They don't have the stiff part. I've been told by an experienced person who has carpal tunnel that just having that nylon sock restriction actually triggers you not to.
Okay, so it's sort of a feedback sort of thing. Lets you know it's there. And yeah, in extreme cases, some people have to wear braces during the day too. But you know, that's something that can be useful. When you have carpal tunnel syndrome, avoid over gripping, just meaning you're trying to open a jar or something. I'm going to get it, you know, because you can really irritate the nerve. So we'll just jump to the elbows and forearm, because I'm trying to keep you guys moving here.
Don, quick question here.
Yep.
Trigger finger. What is trigger finger?
Trigger finger is and that's good because it's going right in line here. Trigger finger is a shortening of your flexors, okay, to do this, okay? Because you're gripping so much. Remember what I said about strengthening a muscle without stretching it? The muscle shortens, and it actually pulls your fingers, okay? So you go to move your fingers a certain way, and it doesn't move, and all of a sudden it snaps, okay? because there's pressure because that muscle's so tight, and then all of a sudden it just snaps into place. Okay, that's just a big sign that your muscles are way too tight. In extreme cases, when you can't recover from it, they will actually go in and do surgical releases, which are little cuts along the tendon to try and release it and give it slack. That's extreme cases, but you don't want to go there because you want to stretch, right? You know, so that's why another reason why it's real important to do the stretches. So I'll talk about that briefly in here too. But that was a good question. Trigger thing.
I had a physical therapy appointment.
All right, hey, thanks for coming.
Thanks, Sam. Take care. Yeah.
All right, a real common injury. Anybody ever have tennis elbow? Tennis elbow, that's a real common one, okay? Again, tendon, that's another tendon problem, okay? We have a picture up here, Ed. So what happens is you have a muscle belly right here on your forearm, okay? And we're using those like crazy when we're carving. All right, because we're holding a saw. If your wrists aren't like this, and your wrists are like this, and you're holding something, they're firing like crazy. Okay, if your palms are down and you're working them. So what happens is you see the muscle belly turns into tendon that connects to your fingers. Okay, but it also turns into a tendon and connects to this bone up here on your forearm. And what happens is this is a very strong attachment. All right, so it's not going to pull away. But when you carve a lot or you lift a lot, overuse, this tendon starts to pull away because it's weaker. All right, so it can actually fray. It can actually start to pull away a bit. Muscle can rip right where the tendon is. All right, but the pain is usually right on the outside of the elbow. All right, so it's a very common injury, and it can be dealt with pretty readily. What you can do is you can first, what we tell our patients is to stop doing strenuous activities for a little while, or try and minimize them. I know it's tough in the carving world. If you pick something up with your palms down, those guys are firing, so you're going to stress that over and over and over and over again. Turn your hand around. Now you're using a completely different set of muscles. You go to lift something up, lift it like this. Don't lift it like this. Okay? Gallon of milk, pull starting your saw, turn your hand around. Turning a doorknob will do it, will cause pain, because it comes from tennis elbow, which is a backhand shot, okay, which is extending the wrist when it's done improperly. Extending the wrist and turning, okay, which is the same mechanics for how you can injure it, okay. So the first thing that we usually tell people is to stop doing the activities that cause the strain on the muscle. Let the muscle relax just by simply turning the hands around, trying to get it to relax. Then we start them back with some light exercises. We use the ultrasound machine, ice massage over the area. I think those are all in your packet. You got to check with your doctor. You got to check with your physical therapist. Again, none of these things should be done without talking to them. And it needs to heal. Okay. You say, well, how do I keep carving functional? Becomes a chronic problem. Well, we have a tendonitis brace, okay? Which the brace basically, because right here on the elbow is where all the stress is. So if you pull everything this way, all the stress is right here on the elbow. If you put a tendonitis brace right here on the elbow, it intercepts the pressure so that it doesn't pull away on the elbow quite as much. All right? So it's got to be right here, about a third of the way down the forearm. And a tendonitis brace, you'll notice one side of it has like a rubber bar, so that when you tighten the brace, it actually tightens here more so, right on those muscles. Okay? And that's a way to help with chronic tendonitis problems, tennis elbow problems. But you have to check with your doc again. But it's pretty useful. Cindy had double tennis elbow a couple of years ago, and she had to use it and get around on it. So, any questions about that? It's a long seminar, huh? Okay. Really, all this information should be like 8 hours long. So, I'm trying to condense it down.
You're doing good.
Thanks. So, ways to help prevent that tennis elbow also is to perform some stretches, okay? So if the mechanics of that muscle are to bend your wrists up, okay, and also typing and things will irritate it, you want to bend your wrist down, all right? So when we're carving for a long period of time, all right, those muscles start getting tight, you got to bend the wrist down. You got to bend, you can actually turn them in a little bit, but once you bend your wrist, if you pull the fingers back a little bit, you can actually feel more of a pull coming across. If you keep those muscles nice and loose, they're not going to tighten until they snap, okay, until it pulls away on that tendon. So that's an important one, all right, especially holding that saw all day long. Let's see here. Yeah, you can hold the saw differently, change the position, you know. Oh, okay, a reverse grip? Oh, okay. So you can change your whole grip by just turning your hand around on the saw. I'll have to try that. Okay. So you want to get those muscles loosened up as much as you can, okay? The other one for trigger finger, like we were talking about, these muscles get over tight, okay? So it's just extending your arm and pulling your fingers back, okay? When you're about to carve, you do the dynamic stretch. You're looking at your carving, you're sort of eyeing it up, and you're doing this stretch over and over and over again. You're warming things up, you're getting ready to go. If they're tight, if you have trigger finger, you're at home holding them for 30 seconds to try and gain range of motion. All right, because there's that static stretch again. You got to hold it for 30 seconds to gain range of motion. That's as far as you can go? Yeah, that's tight. That's real tight.
That's why I got trigger finger.
Yeah, that's real tight. Extremely tight. Everybody see Ed's hand? Hold your elbow out straight. Try and pull them down. Range of motion. You should be able to pull yourself down to about 90 degrees.
That's not natural.
Holy cow.
Well, don't do it with carpal tunnel. Well, just because of the bending on the wrist and things like that, you know, I use precautions. Unless I evaluated you or something, I don't tell anybody with carpal tunnel syndrome. You could, but I just...
The best advice I've heard came from Dick Scoggins, who I was carving with him once, and he said, you know, he does a lot of fairs, and he says, if you see somebody who holds a saw out like this, and is carving, you know, and turning like this, he says they won't last. If you can carve with your body and keep your arms braced, you're saving a lot of that in your arms, and especially your shoulders and stuff like that. So that, actually, if you can learn to carve that way, a lot of people say, oh, well, I like to, and I do too. I like to look down that saw and see the cut. But if you can learn to use your body to move the saw rather than your arms, or have your arms out, you'll save a lot
That's how I
of
have to carve.
Yeah.
Because my body's already messed up.
Yeah.
That's how I had to learn to carve. It was like John's used to carving, and he's like, you need to hold this up. I'm like, I can't, you know? I have to keep my elbows like kind of propped on me and hold the saw and use my body.
Yeah, that's a real good tip. Less strain.
With, you know, because it's like, I would be down in couple hours.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. There's a lot less strain on your joints that way. All right. Okay, so those stretches. If you don't have range of motion wise, you hold your arm out straight, you should be able to pop up to close to 70 degrees, okay? Close to it, yep, that's good. Some guys have 90, that's really good. Don't do it if you have carpal tunnel syndrome. But you should have close to 90 degrees. If you don't have the range of motion here, okay, then you're gonna have to do stretching to get yourself there, okay? Closer to it, okay? The other way, if you hold your arm out straight and drop your hand down, you should be at 90. You should be straight up and down, basically. And if you're not, then you have to do these stretches. Yeah, as long as you don't have a problem. But if you do, you just have to proceed with caution. So those are real important because we're using forearms all day long, all right? So make sure to get those stretches in. Warm up during, or before, during, and even after, and then go home and do some static stretching. You should be doing static stretching 3 or 4 times a day, in addition to doing it while you're carving. All right, we'll kind of break into it slowly. Okay, cold pack applications. All right, we're almost done. Okay, with the tennis elbow, screwdrivers, wrenches, things like that, anything where you're turning, you want to try to minimize some of those. Hammer motions, tendonitis brace. PT will help you strengthen the muscles when it's time. Okay. Okay. I think I'm missing a sheet here. Oh, here we go. Just hand and finger wear and tear arthritis. All right, people get a lot of arthritis in there over the years. If it's wear and tear arthritis, osteoarthritis, heat usually feels pretty good on the joints. If you have rheumatoid arthritis, you have to be careful because it can inflame things. Might sound a little weird to the guys, but a paraffin bath, which is used at health care facilities for women and stuff like that, pedicure, stuff like that, it's 125 to 130 degrees. We use it in therapy, okay? We have a person dip their hand into the wax, 125, 130 degrees, pull out, back in, 8 times. You form a full glove, and it's a real deep penetrating heat, all right? And we wrap it in plastic and put a towel around it, hot pack for about 10 or 15 minutes, and it comes out, and they can't believe what's happening. They're able to stretch, they're able to move, reduces pain for hours, things like that. And you can get them for home, real easy, real easy. And online, they could be, what were they saying, 40 bucks, 50 bucks? You can pay a lot for them if you want, but, but they're pretty inexpensive. That works. People just can't believe the range that they get after they take, the glove just peels right off afterwards, and they can't believe how much they're able to move. Circulation, we'll jump down to. If you're a chainsaw carver, you're probably going to have poor circulation. If you smoke, it's going to be worse, and if you drink coffee all the time, it'll be even worse. I have terrible circulation. I can't keep my hands warm for anything, but it's also called white finger or Raynaud's phenomenon. It's more of a nuisance. The vibration from the saw actually will help or cause a decrease in circulation in your hands over time. Anti-vibe gloves, things like that will help out,
Check with your doctor that aspirin a day.
Yeah, aspirin.
Circulation.
Yeah, to keep things moving in there.
It's okay with your doctor, just take that aspirin a day.
Yeah, they help with the heart too. Best thing to do with that, common sense, keep your hands warm. Stay ahead of it. Cardio exercise, because you're flushing. You're pushing that blood deeper and deeper into these tissues that don't want the circulation to begin with. That'll help. And when we're carving, try not to light up if you smoke right before carving, because that'll decrease everything right down. It'll constrict all your blood vessels. Smoking and drinking caffeine, of course, will do the same thing. So even if you smoke and you decrease, some cigarettes per day, that's going to make it's going to make a difference. I used to smoke myself, and I don't even know how. All right, just back to nutrition. Your body can't fix itself without the proper nutrition. Make sure you're eating everything that you should. Use your lifting aids, and brace if needed. Do everything with and without physical therapy. You should be paying attention to these sorts of things. If you go to physical therapy, ask lots of questions to your therapist, because there's a tendency sometimes when things get real busy to, okay, your exercises, okay, get started. And sometimes you run out of time and they didn't get the progression. It's the squeakiest chain gets the most oil. Hey, what am I doing here today? Am I doing the same thing? Just keep us sharp. You got to keep us sharp. You got to talk to us and say, hey. Take your time. The faster you do something, like Big John said earlier, the less you're using your brain. All right. And if you're in a hurry, we tend to do things wrong. So just try and take your time when you can. But check with your doc, physical therapist, and it'll help keep you guys carving, hopefully. And I'll answer any questions the best I can if you guys, want to see me one-on-one. But we have some knee pads that you could purchase for $10. Just take them back to Walmart. You can get them at Walmart for $10. That's how much I paid for them. And one other thing, does anybody have trouble marking on the wet wood? I found that these markers will mark on a fresh cut piece of wood, as wet as can be. These markers, I'll show them to you. They're just from Walmart, and they're $3.50 or $4. I know we have crayons, we have all kinds of stuff, but last year I brought this along, and it's a Sharpie. It's called a Magnum.
Hold it still a minute.
The Sharpie, it's a Magnum, and like I said, Walmart, $3 to $4. I have some extras there if anybody wants to buy them.
Is it because it's alcohol based?
I'm not sure. Oh, did you get the? I'm not sure if it's alcohol based. It might say in the back, but I know that log is wet, and I can still mark on it. And I can mark usually pretty good. So, just letting you guys know about that. But that's it. Anybody have any immediate questions? Or? Thanks a lot.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for sitting here all that time.